Welcome to Impact Farming, where we introduce you to the people and ideas that will have a massive impact on your farming operation. Brought to you by Farm Marketer. Sit down, start the engine, and let's roll with today's show.
Have you heard? Season 2 of the Pioneer Made to Grow podcast with host Andrew Campbell is back. New topics, trusted industry voices, more expert ag advice. Find it wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Impact Farming Show. Today I have an amazing guest. I have Louise Sanders joining us. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me.
I am so happy to have you back on the show. For those of you guys tuning in, Louise is a stress consultant, speaker, and trainer with her company, The Stress Experts. And I am not afraid to say that Louise is my own personal coach. So she is fantastic. And I'm so excited to have you on the show, Louise, to be talking about conquering stress and building resiliency. So let's get started. I'm pausing there and I'm going to add on, we're talking about stress, but I'm actually going to bring in some questions about fear, Louise. And you guys in the audience, wherever you are, the world we're living in right now is pretty crazy with that pandemic and everything that's going on. And then add on top of that, so many of us have been having tough years leading up to 2021. And as you know, Louise, your family farms, yes. A lot of farmers have been really impacted by a very bad drought and grasshoppers in 2021. So in addition to stress, I want to talk about fear because I'm going to name it and say it and admit it. There are a lot of people living in fear right now. So
absolutely.
Yes. Are you ready?
Yes, let's give her.
Wonderful. Then can you tell our audience a little bit about you and then we will dive right in.
Awesome. Yes. So thank you for the wonderful introduction because my name is Louise Sanders. I grew up on a farm. So in southwestern Manitoba, we have about 4,000 acres and we originally, when I grew up, we had 500,000 chickens. So laying hens. So I know what it's like to be in the livestock industry and the grain industry. But so after high school, I went into physical therapy. So I have a bachelor degree in physical therapy. I spent 4 years being a physical therapist in private practice, but I enjoyed it. But what I noticed is it felt like I was doing like a Band-Aid approach to people coming in, that they would come in with an issue and I just got this feeling there was something more that needed to be done, something more than just working on their physical body. And it just felt like I was, again, just putting on a Band-Aid, and just getting them to feel a little bit better. They'd leave and then they'd come back with either the same complaint or something, something different. So this led me into doing more study into complementary or alternative medicine. So I learned about Bowen therapy, laser therapy, neuro-linguistic programming or NLP. And then a big part of now what I really work, consciousness medicine, another one, body talk. But really now what I do is I combine the Institute of Heart Math. I use their information. So they're down in California. They have over 30 years of research on stress, resilience, emotions, and optimal performance. So I really love their stuff, very scientifically based, strongly researched. So I combine that with the positive psychology and the Enneagram personality system. So I work with my younger sister, Elaine. So we are the co-founders of the Stress Experts. So she has a background in nursing. So it's kind of like her and I did everything together, except she did nursing first and I did physical therapy first. So we combine all of our knowledge and help people conquer stress. We give people the inner skills to conquer stress. And we teach them what stress really is. So I'm really happy that I get to be here and talk about stress and resilience. That's just my passion now.
Ooh, I love it. And I'm excited to have you on the show. And now more than ever, we need to be having this conversation.
Absolutely.
So why don't we start from the top? or the bottom. 101, whatever we want to call it.
Got it.
Is stress. Let's start there.
Excellent. So I'm just going to like step back a little bit, because when we talk about stress, it can be kind of confusing, because stress has, depending what field of study you're in, stress has different meanings. So if you look at physics, for example, stress is the outside force that's put onto something, and then that thing goes under strain. So it gets a little complicated when you talk about the psychophysiology of humans and talk about stress, because stress is actually kind of the opposite. Stress is what we are feeling. So we don't really, like, and according to physics, we actually should be feeling strain. So I just want to clear that all up, because there's a difference between stressor and stress. So a stressor is the outside force, the event, the situation, the circumstance, be that machinery that breaks down, be it a pandemic, be it yelling children, be it lunches to make for the field, be it the weather. Those are stressors. Those are external forces that we pretty much have little or no control on. Stress, on the other hand, is it's a disharmony, an internal disharmony, a psychophysiological disharmony that is a result of experiencing negative or depleting emotions as a response to our perception of our life situation or circumstance or event. So it's interesting, because it's our negative emotional response, negative being not bad. People think, oh, negative is bad, but it's actually depleting. Negative means taking away from. And so when we talk about negative emotions, it means draining. It takes away your energy. It's ineffective. Like, it keeps you in an ineffective state. So experiencing negative and depleting emotion is not really bad. It's a messenger that there's something that needs to be worked on, or there's something that's trying to get your attention. So when you started this, you said that you wanted to talk about fear as well. And fear really is under that umbrella term of, it creates stress. So when we talk about, oh, I'm feeling stressed, it could be depressed, it could be sad, it could be anxious, it could be worried, it could be fearful, it could be overwhelmed. I don't know if I said that. They're all these. Stress is the disharmony that we feel, that we experience when we're experiencing a depleting and negative emotion.
Okay.
Fear is definitely stressful. So there's really no emotion called stress. Stress is the disharmony as a result of experiencing the negative, depleting emotions.
Okay, let me see if I got that. Stressors, so things going on.
Yep.
We feel an emotion,
mm-hmm.
and then that causes stress inside.
Correct.
Due to the emotion that we assign to the stressor.
That's right. And as an example of this, like, a stressor can be a roller coaster. But some people love a roller coaster. They're just super excited. It's not stressful. It's like
adrenaline, fun, right?
Yes, it's fun for them. Then there's the other ones that, like, it's a fearful. It's like, no way. So that the roller coaster is the stressor. The response to it is what's different.
Interesting.
So it's kind of like, if it rains and you wanted it to rain, you're not going to be stressed about it.
Yes.
So rain is not stressful. It's your perception of the event.
Isn't that the truth? You go on Egg Twitter and you see Ontario getting rain, and they're all stressed out and upset because they can't get into their crops and they're flooding. And you go to the people in the comments in Manitoba going, oh, wow, rain.
Send it this way.
So nice. Same thing happening, different reactions.
That's right. So the stressor, you have it bang on. Again, the stressor is outside of us, is external. Typically, as a nuance, and hope this doesn't confuse people, but we can have, actually, our emotions can be the stressor. So if I'm afraid, I can be afraid to be afraid.
Oh.
Right? Or I can be anxious that I'm going to be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
So now your fear is the stressor and your anxiety is the emotion you're experiencing because you're anxious about being afraid.
Okay.
So
That's anxiety, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how anxiety
for sure. Or you can feel overwhelmed about your fear.
Oh,
Now we're talking that there's layers to this.
okay.
So to keep it very simple, that's kind of like the nuances, but to keep it very simple, typically a stressor is external to you, something you can't control. Like the example I talked about, weather, machinery, livestock, illness, stuff like that. But the stress is the disharmony as a result of experiencing depleting emotions, depleting emotion as a response to your perception of it. Like we said, your perception is important, because if it's raining, you may love it, then it's not stressful. But if it's raining and you didn't want it and you got to get into your, get to harvest, now that's stressful because your perception is, I don't need this now.
Yes, that makes sense. And so often we don't realize that, but that's good to start there, right? The awareness of how that works.
Yes.
Lovely. Okay. Do you have anything further that you want to add on to stress, or?
No, I don't. I think
move on and ask you the next question I had for you.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I've heard you chat about the stressful times we live in and the fast pace of technology, and what that does to us as humans, as farmers. Can you go there? Because I think that is so very relevant to almost everybody, unless you live in a bush without or a TV or anything.
Yes.
So can you go there?
Absolutely. Let's go there. So technology I just want to say, is neither bad nor good. It's not one or the other. But the thing is right now, especially on social media, I don't know about especially now, because it's mostly just all the same pandemic and drought and stuff like that, or flooding, but it's typically, when we look at like social media, you're scrolling through and it's story after story after story after story. And so your emotions, you get tied up into this story. And then once you're, all riled up with that, you go to like this story, and you haven't had time to process this, and you just scroll, and it's just story after story, emotion after emotion, and you're flipping around all of these emotions, and you have no time to process it.
Yeah.
So we're not wired. We haven't adapted to that fast pace yet. So it's like we're bombarded with all of these emotional stories, stories that are emotionally charged, and we haven't been, we need to be able to regulate our emotions, especially to look at all of these stories and not have the skills to regulate your emotions. It can be a very dangerous place, because you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to feel bombarded, and not really know that can be the reason. So some other reasons that it might not, technology has some detrimental effects on you, is the distraction. So you get distracted. It's almost like you don't like where you are, so you like leave where you are and you go somewhere else virtually, on like you disappear on your cell phone or on social media or on technology. But really then it takes you out of the present moment, and it takes you out of being here where you are. So you lack awareness to what's right in front of you. And you're no longer here. You're somewhere else. So there's a whole lack of presence.
Oh, yes.
And that can be very detrimental to your health, mentally, physically. You forget yourself. You're somewhere else. The other thing that I wanted, yes, so the distraction also, we are losing, especially we've seen this in kids, and there's reports in kids that their attention span is narrowing. That it's shortening. 3 seconds, like we're turning into goldfish here. We only have
you're winning now.
I think they're way ahead of us in our attention span.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But we're training ourselves to have very short attention span, to get bored very quickly.
Yeah.
And that I don't think that is good. It's like I'm bored of this, move on to the next thing. So we're always seeking the next thing, and not actually being content with what we have.
The instant gratification, the now. Yeah.
Instant gratification. The other thing about social media or technology, as we were talking about, is everything's an emergency.
Oh.
Like when when you get dings and notifications and everything sets, it's like, ugh. Yep. And so you get that feeling inside. There's actually like your heart races, or you get a little panic, or that's stressful. And if you keep getting that, that's, you increase cortisol, and you get all of these, not like cortisol is the bad, hormone, but it's the stress hormone. You do need it. Like you wouldn't get out of bed in the morning if you didn't have it. So it's important to have cortisol. But it's when you have too much of it. And so you keep getting this dose of cortisol, and it's, relatives that come with it, of the stress cascade of hormones. So every time your phone dings or you get a notification, you're just getting another boost of those stress hormones. So, the other thing that it can be difficult with is like emails. They're just so easy to send. Back in the day where you had to like get a piece of paper and hand write it out and get it to the mail with a stamp, and takes like 8 weeks to get to someone, right? You're gonna really check to see if what you're saying is what you want to say.
You should.
Now it's a quick, type on your phone or type an email, and you just press send, and the way you were feeling in that moment wasn't checked. So you may send an angry email, or you may send a hurtful text, and then you're actually damaging relationships because you haven't given yourself the time to step back. You reacted to a situation instead of responded. So technology has sped up the world, but we haven't given ourselves enough practice, enough skills to keep up with that.
I agree.
So to learn how to regulate your emotions in the moment so that you can respond to an email. So if you get an email and it really upsets you, typically we just want to get back on the email and like, we're going to send you something back and press send. But if we can, that damages relationships, burns bridges, it breaks deals. There's a lot of detrimental effects to that. But if we can regulate our emotions and make sure that what we're sending is actually what we want to say, from a deeper place, not from a head place, from a heart place, from a whole place, a wholeness. Is that how you want to be treated? But we don't ask that. We just, because it's just so easy. And so
and the adrenaline, it's that pause, step away, just like if you're upset with somebody, right? I have learned most things don't need to be addressed right now, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's with staff or spouses, let's take a moment, let's do our thing and then come back. And then same with an email. You're going to respond to it totally different if you just chill out and step away, right?
Yes. And even if you do have a lot of stuff to do, that, it's like, well, I don't have time for that. I have to respond right away. That's okay. Learn the skills then and that's what we teach, learn the skills then to conquer stress so that you can bring about more harmony, and how to answer that email the way you really want to answer that email instead of the way you think you should answer that email.
Yeah, I agree.
But there's a lot of good things to technology. It shares information. We're doing this right now, sharing information. This is great. Technology, like I said, it's not a bad thing. You just got to use it with awareness and with responsibility.
Can I chat about the social media for a second?
Absolutely, yeah.
I love it. And of course, you meet people that you never would have known. I mean, I have farming friends from around the world now, and just like great people like you that you connect with on social media. And if you've seen them in person and be like your friends, right? It's so cool. But the fast pace and the overwhelm I have found, and I've had a love-hate with social media, and especially if I have a lot going on in life already, to me, and I don't know, it's probably different personalities are affected, different, your stress level to begin with, what's going on in your life, maybe men and women, because I know my husband's not impacted as much. But here's what I finally determined. So you go on social media, exactly like you just said. I have 5,000 friends on Twitter. Okay, so I'm logging on. I'm not going to see 5,000 updates. I don't care if I see like 100. And in the farming industry, it's always something's going on, right? And usually people in groups of areas. So you're seeing devastation. And all of a sudden, you've just had so many dumps. Like, to me, it feels like so many friends are dumping on me, and my heart's breaking for these people. Where now, I said to Anthony one time, I said, if you think about it, back in the day before social media, Louise, we had our small groups of friends and family. Okay, so you pick up the phone and talk to your mom or your sister about the stresses. They would chat a little bit with you, right? And you would have the problems of a few people on your shoulders instead of 100, 200, 5,000 people, right? Like, it's just a lot to carry that for a few people, let alone how invested you get with these people that you don't even really know, but you know, right? So to me, I have to manage, honestly, I have to manage my social media time and plan it at different times of the day just to make sure it doesn't overwhelm me.
Yes. And I think you make it, I want to make 2 points here. One, you're right. We are wired, we're designed to be in small groups. We're meant to care about the small community and care about, 100 some people. I don't know what number it should be or what number that is.
Yes.
But it's smaller than what it is. So, fitting into that group and belonging in that group is a lot easier than belonging to 10,000, because you're hearing all of these different responses, all of these different. So I'm talking about, feeling belonging.
Yes.
And where you fit into this, group. So it's a lot easier to fit into your group of, a couple hundred and take feedback from them.
Sure.
But then when we try to take in, try to fit into a group of like 10,000 or more, like that, we're not designed for that, to be bombarded with that. So yes, we are meant to belong in smaller groups. So we have to either adapt or go back to smaller, start caring about smaller groups again. But talking about care, the Institute of Heart Math has coined a term called overcare. And overcare, I don't want to go too much into this because it can be a little bit confusing to people, but care is renewing, is a renewing emotion to care for someone. It lights you up. It gives you energy to care for someone. But then if we care too much, we turn that care into worry.
Yes.
And our worry is stressful. It drains your energy. It takes away from you.
Yes.
So, and it doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't feel good. So your care is helpful. Your overcare is not helpful.
Yep.
So it's that awareness, to use awareness in what is it that I'm actually feeling, and to learn how to regulate regulate your overcare back into caring. And that's another skill that we teach, is like how to do that.
Ooh, that's valuable. And I think a lot of personalities too, some are over carers, right? That nurturing person would probably really struggle with that. I mean, we could probably go down a rabbit.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was just thinking, I want to talk about more, but we could do
I know. We could do like 5 little offshoots from this one interview.
Yes. And just as a side note, or just to carry on about that, because there's care about people and over care about people, but then there's care about like the weather. You care about the weather, that, I hope it rains because we're having a drought, but then it can be over care that, now you're draining your emotion. Like, I really hope it rains, and I'm getting worried and anxious, and that's draining your energy. And no matter how much you worry about the weather, it's not going to change the weather.
That's probably every farmer though, right? Because everything depends on the weather. You're going to over care about it.
Yes. But all it does is it drains your energy. That's all that it's doing. It's the energy that you're putting into worrying is not actually going to change the weather or solve your problem.
That is probably going to be one of the most impactful things for those in our audience, because I think that is probably every farmer's biggest problem.
And what's sad is it takes away their energy, the energy that they want and they need for other things. For contingency planning, or for succession planning, or for the other things that they want to do. Relationships.
Yep, exactly. Okay, fantastic. So that was technology. If you don't have anything more to add on that, I would like to ask, without doing like 5 to 10 more episodes within the episode.
Right. Sorry.
Do you have anything to add before we move on? I'm just going to ask you about, we talked about the stress of technology. And then if you have anything to add, go ahead. My next one would be what the stress of farming and the impact that has on farm families. Maybe just touching on that if you have anything more to add to that.
So the impact on farm families. So stress, the stressors that a farmer experiences is unique. So the stressors are unique. So yes, there's the weather, there's the finances. I mean, you're pretty much risking your farm every time you put a crop in the ground. You know, you go bury millions of dollars and just pray that millions of dollars come back. So there's big risk and big reward, but that big risk is scary. So not all careers or vocations is such a big risk. So yes, there are unique stressors to farming, but the stress is the same. So stress, no matter who you are or what work you do, stress is the same. It's a physiological disharmony. And to regulate that physiological disharmony comes down to regulating your negative emotional response to your perception of your life situation. So the stressors are different. They may be big, but when it comes to regulating stress, it's all about learning the inner skills to conquer stress. It's all about learning the inner skills to regulate your emotions and regulate your energy.
True.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Okay. Before we dive into conquering stress and becoming resilient, let's chat about fear. I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that. And I think this might be a good spot to cover that. Like we said, so many people, whatever reason, I mean, the world's crazy right now. It's September, October, whenever this airs, 2021. There's a lot going on. And whatever side, unfortunately, you're on, there's a fear. So can you talk a little bit about fear?
So fear is a depleting emotion. It's just a different frequency. And when I say frequency, I mean, it's measurable frequency. There's an electromagnetic frequency to your emotions. Your emotions are measurable. So when I say that it is a certain frequency, it is. So fear is a certain frequency of a depleting emotion. So that depleting emotion is creating chaos. So it is a certain flavor, if you will, of stress.
Nice.
So there are 3 changes that you can make. So if you find yourself in fear or overwhelm or whatever emotion, but let's talk about fear. There are 3 changes that you can do. So you can change the intensity. So when you are experiencing fear, you can change it. You can turn it down. So you're not trying to change the emotion. You're just turning it down. So instead of panic and outright, blinded fear, you're just turning it down. You still have the fear, just turn the volume down. So you can do that with practice. You can change the intensity. So that's one change. You can change the intensity. Changing your relationship to the emotion of fear is important. So accepting that you're fearful is very powerful, a lot more powerful than resisting your fear. When you resist your fear and thinking, I shouldn't be afraid, it's bad to be afraid, it actually increases your fear. It increases your stress because you are resisting it. So it's counterintuitive, but really one way to help regulate this fear is to accept that you're afraid. And once you accept it, it starts to decrease. And now you're more into the feeling of acceptance and you're not so much afraid. So it's a little interesting human psyche switch there.
Yes. And that's super important. Yep.
Yes. And it's not like that you're accepting the situation. No. You're accepting your fear. It's different.
Yeah.
So you can, whether it be this pandemic or whether it be fear of not getting rain or getting too much rain or the fear that you're not going to get a crop off, It's not that you just have to accept that. I mean, you do, because you can't change it. But I'm not just telling you that the stuff that you can change. It's not like I'm telling you, just accept it and be a doormat and let them walk all over you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you accept your emotional response to it. Because now when you're accepting your emotional response to it, your emotional response is now acceptance, which is a lot more harmonious. And now you can work to do something about it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. It's kind of like, okay, I'm feeling fear. It's fine.
That's right. And now it's not a big deal. The more you resist it, the bigger the deal it is. So 1, change the intensity. 2, change your relationship with the emotion. And 3, change your perception of the trigger or of the stimulus. So, I have a friend that is talking, he's a farmer, and we've had drought, right? So we need some rain. So, and it's been, last year we didn't get much rain, not much snow. So it's been kind of a few years now. We need some water, and now we're getting rain, and he wants to harvest. So I told him, I said, yes, this sucks. I said, but you're getting rain for next year. You need the rain for next year. So yes, it sucks this year, but it's good for next year. And suddenly he's like, you're right. So all we did was just change the perception of the trigger. Mm-hmm. And so that helped to decrease the fear and the stress. So the 3 changes: change your intensity, decrease it down, change your relationship with your emotion, and change your perception of the trigger or of the stimulus or of the stressor.
Nice.
Does that answer your question about fear?
Yeah, I love it. I think especially when you're self-employed, that's really, I'm fairly open. I've chatted about fear before, back when I was a beginning entrepreneur. And you have all these big bills and you have a brand new company. So there's not much revenue coming in, right? There's fear there. Let's name it, right? And then you go, okay, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling this? Am I the only one that feels this? And I just chatted about this the other day, but I started my journey with podcasting, listening to other entrepreneurs going, yeah, I'm Tony Robbins and I feel fear. Fear is natural, right? And it's a part, especially if you're doing big things, small things, medium things, whatever. If you're self-employed and you don't have a guarantee of a paycheck hitting your account every month or a crop coming in, you're going to feel fear, right?
Yes. And it's okay. Like I said, there's no real negative, or it's not a bad thing to experience negative emotions.
Yeah.
Really, it's just saying, hey, there's something here you have to pay attention to.
I heard I got to share this. It just popped into my head. I heard an author say this. Same thing. She feels fear, self-employed, and probably fear of judgment of her writing. I think that was her story. And she said, I've always felt fear. And it paralyzed me. And often I couldn't write. And then she wrote her big novel and became very famous. But she said, finally, I learned that we always have fear. It's going to be there, whoever we are. Even probably if we are employed and getting a paycheck, you just have different worries, right? She said, the change was when I said, okay, fear, you're here, but you're not driving the car anymore. Get in the back seat. I'll listen to you and go, okay, yeah, I get it. But you're not driving the car anymore. You get back there and I'll drive the car. And I'm like, oh, clever. And then you, like you said, you stop resisting it. You acknowledge it's there, but it's like, thanks for the input, fear. Get back there, right?
Exactly.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's nice. And that's exactly it. Just accept that it's there.
Yeah.
That's all fine. You're human. That without fear, like it's just another dimension of a human existence, another dimension of your experience. Can you imagine never feeling fear? That's a big chunk of your life missing.
Wow.
It adds a dimension to your life.
Well, and fear essentially too, we have to have it. If that was taken away, we would drive in the wrong lane. We'd walk in front of vehicles. Like fear is enough. Like we have to have it. It keeps us alive. Gets us up to go to work, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I had to share that story.
Yes.
This is something
Speaking of fear, I just want to say one thing. fear used to be, fear is needed. So back in the day, like when we were like cavemen or whatever, in evolutionary speaking, fear was there, but it was there to keep you alive, run from saber-toothed tigers. But we don't have saber-toothed tigers anymore. We get phone bills and credit card bills and all of that. That's our saber-toothed tiger now.
Sure.
Or it's also my, how does my perception hold up? Like how does my image of myself hold up on social media? What are people saying? Are they going to kill my ego?
Yes.
Is my ego being threatened?
Yes.
Not my life, but is my ego, is my perception of myself the image of myself being threatened? So then we have that fear. Mm-hmm. So not existential fear anymore. It's more, is my ego going to survive?
Yeah. Like more mind fears, right? Versus actual physical safety.
There you go. It's psychological fears instead of physical fears.
Okay.
Yeah. That kind
Smart.
of thing.
Smart. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you for addressing that. I really want to dive into that. I'm a big fan of pulling the Band-Aid off, talking about the hard stuff. I have the platform. I'll throw myself under the bus. I'll admit it when I feel fear, whatever emotion, because, honestly, I've learned at the end of the day, we're all humans and our experience varies, but it's all very much the same. And I have found when we can talk about stress, fear, mental health, this is part of my mental health series, when we can talk about what we're feeling, thinking, and other people can hear it and they go, oh, okay, so I'm not the only one, right? That feeling when you go, I'm not the only one, you go,
I just did a presentation this morning and that was someone's comment too. I asked what their takeaways were and she says, I found out I'm not going crazy.
Oh, wow.
So that was amazing. Really huge for me. Like, that's good. I said, you're not going crazy.
That is huge. Oh, wow. Good for you. Okay. Fear. That was lovely. Thank you for sharing. Do you want to pivot a little bit and talk about becoming resilient? Do you want to define that and then work towards steps farmers can take? Where would you like to go?
Let's talk about resilience.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do it. Just go ahead. What is it?
Okay.
How do we build it? Dive right in.
Excellent. So resilience, the actual definition of resilience is it's the capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt in the face of stress, challenge, and adversity. So people, when they typically think of resilience as like the ability to bounce back after challenge. And while they're not wrong, they're just missing part of it because there's more to resilience than that. So again, it's not just bouncing back. It's like the adapting in how much energy do you have, how much capacity, how much ability do you have to adapt as things change. Not just bounce back after, but adapt. And how able are you to prepare for that stressor and to prepare for the emotional challenge? So when we talk about capacity, so the beginning of that definition is the capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt. The capacity you can think about as an inner battery. So capacity is how much of something you have. So resilience is how much energy do you have to prepare for, recover from, and adapt in the challenges that you face. So when you hear the word resilience, you can think inner battery.
I love that.
Okay. So typically, like our inner battery has to be like that, all that inner battery energy has to be used to digest our food, to regulate blood pressure, to think thoughts. That takes energy to, move and walk around. All of that takes energy. All that energy has to come from one inner battery. So another part of that inner battery that takes energy and renews, we spend and renew energy from this inner battery. And your emotions, to regulate your emotions and how you experience your emotions really influences your inner battery. So when I was talking about draining emotions or depleting our negative emotions, like fear, anxiety, worry, grief, judgment, shame, blame, anger, panic, all of those emotions drain your energy because there's a disharmony happening inside. So that disharmony takes energy. It's like driving your car with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake and just pressing it at random. Sure, you might get somewhere, but it took a lot of energy to get there. You have a gas pedal and brake pedal inside of you. When the nervous system has the sympathetic, which is generally speaking the gas pedal, and the parasympathetic system, which is generally speaking the brake pedal. When we experience a depleting emotion, it's like we're pressing on both of them at the same time at random. That's taking a lot of energy for nothing. So we burn a lot and we just dump out loads of energy because we are experiencing depleting emotions that aren't effective. So going back to the weather example.
I was going to go there. Yes.
No matter how much you worry about the weather, it's not going to change it. No matter how much you worry about the stock price, it's not going to change it. The only thing it's doing is depleting your energy. So when you do feel the worry, you can acknowledge it. And then when you acknowledge it, accept it, you can now create more harmony and like, okay, what can I do about it? And be in a state to find creative solutions. If there is anything, maybe you can do better, more effective planning, or maybe you can shuffle your money around, or find creative solutions around your issue. But if you are in a state of panic or in a state of fear or state of worry, you don't have the energy, and there's actually a physiological communication between the heart and the brain, which I'm not going to get into. Your brain goes offline when you're in a depleting emotion, when you're experiencing a depleting emotion. So it's very difficult for you to come up with solutions or to make a wise decision.
So true. I think of different times in my life, like in business too, maybe where you were overwhelmed, stressed on the farm, where you're just in a period and you're depleted and you're not even thinking clearly. And then let's say you get some rest. As much as you think you're doing a great job and you're a smart person, that's not the point, right? And you're doing your best, making the best decisions. But then you rest up and you come out of that period and you look back and you go, why didn't I see that solution? Why did I do that? And you just didn't have the capacity to come up with the proper solutions because you were just drained, right?
You were drained. You didn't have the resilience to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to build resilience, it takes keeping your inner battery charged, because your inner battery is your resilience.
Okay, before we go, I would love for you to give solutions, and I think you have some ideas for us, some tips. Before we go there, can I make a note and where I would see the battery being drained? I mean, as people, generally, we go through stuff in life, and then you drain your battery, you don't rest up, you don't take the actions I'm sure you'll share with us, you get depleted. But here's where I love bringing this conversation and you onto the show. Look at the farmers that had a horrendous year this year, right? On the back of 1, 2, 3 dry years. So how many years have they been worrying about dryness? And now we're here. And goodness knows, the 5th year back, it was probably too wet, because this is farming. It's always something. But this is where I could see mental health being such a big issue with farmers, because there's a lot out of your control. And it just, to me too, with the farm, my media company, stuff just depletes you. And if you have year after year, is that really where that battery becomes like empty, drained?
That's right. And before, getting into the tools, the goal of the tools is to keep your inner battery charged. And now it's a moment to moment thing. If you want to, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Yeah. The elephant is you're drained and you've been drained for years. Let's just say, with your example, the way you conquer that, the way you eat that elephant is a little bit at a time. So in this moment, what are you experiencing? What's your emotion? Because if you're experiencing a depleting emotion, worry, over care, fear, all those negative emotions, depleting emotions, in this moment, you're not helping yourself to increase your inner battery, to increase your resilience. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So it's a moment to moment thing. It's not like, oh, I've noticed in the past 5 years that I haven't, I don't really have the energy. Where's the button for energy? There is none, right? You have to work up to it.
Okay. I'm trying to find that energy button.
I know.
I'll find it one day. Actually, I find it, I shouldn't say that. You'll give me heck, but I find it in external sources called energy performance enhancers.
Yeah, that doesn't.
You can give me heck about that after.
I will. I'll give you heck, Tracy.
Yeah. Or I'm sure that's on your list to go use energy drinks, Tracy.
Yeah, I'm sure that is, tip number 1 is use energy drinks and boosters.
I'm sure. On that note, would you like to share some helpful and productive tips with our audience?
Yes, I certainly would. The first one that we kind of alluded to, it's in the moment. It's the awareness. Like, ask yourself, what is it that I'm experiencing? Now, is it draining my energy? Is it draining my inner battery? Is it draining my resilience? Or is it building resilience? Is it increasing my energy? And it really is that simple. And I know there's going to be people probably in your audience, and it is in every audience I talk to. It's like, but I can't control that. And the thing is, you can. It's a bittersweet pill to swallow. Like, bitter because you don't want to take this responsibility because it sucks. You don't want to be the one that's choosing to be stressed, that is choosing these negative depleting emotions, but you actually do want to be the one that is choosing that.
Yeah.
And so that's the sweet part of this bittersweet pill, is that because you are choosing that, you can choose something different. So as soon as you own the responsibility that is, I am choosing to be stressed, I am choosing these negative emotions, that means the keys to happiness are in your hands. Because you can choose to experience renewing emotions. You can choose to be content, or to feel a sense of confidence, or to actually truly feel faith, hope, supported. Those emotions are renewing, and they're little right now, but they build. Just like your little worries drain, your little contents build.
Mm.
So your moment to moment awareness is important. So my step number 1, I guess, or my tip number 1 is to get aware, to be aware. What are you? Check in with yourself. So either, I have a reminder on my phone that every hour my phone dings and reminds me to take a pill. So I have a pill reminder on my phone, and my pill is a moment. So that is the name I've given my pill. So my phone dings on the hour and it says, take a moment. So it's a reminder for me to check in at least once an hour. What is it I'm experiencing? What emotion am I experiencing? Is it draining, going somewhere I don't want to? Or is it renewing and going somewhere that I do want to? I want more energy in my life.
Mm.
So tip number 1, increase awareness.
Love it.
Make sense? Excellent. So tip number 2, I would say, is bringing your focus to your heart. So your heart is like the source of heartfelt emotions. So when you can get your head noise to quiet down, and you can bring your awareness to your heart. So your awareness on your thoughts is thinking. Your awareness on your heart is feeling and is being present. So the more you can the more you can bring your attention to and your focus to your heart, the more you're going to activate heartfelt emotions like compassion and love and peace and calm. Those are associated with heartfelt emotions for millennia. So we've known this for millennia, and now science is actually proving it. And again, this would be a whole nother session. I'm talking about the science of this. But just know that when we bring our focus to our heart, instead of the energy up in our mind, it's like we're bringing our energy down to our heart. we're getting more activation of heartfelt emotions, which brings about more harmony. So try breathing through the heart when you take these nice, slow, deep breaths. So that's my tip number 2. 1, increase awareness. 2, breathe and focus through the heart. The third one I think is very important is get the sleep that you can. Sleep is, so it's recommended that humans get 7 to 8 hours of sleep to function optimally, or to have any kind of functioning ability. You need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Now, there is no human that can train themselves to go without sleep. It's just not possible. So sleep is our primary way, the primary way to renew our energy, which means to build resilience. So, and I know I'm guilty of it too, is like, well, I just couldn't get to sleep early enough last night. But if I think about it, it's like, well, I took forever to take a shower. I took forever to, brush my teeth. I was dawdling and I ended up reading something, and then I checked my email, and then, about an hour went by and I didn't need to do any of that.
And I scrolled social media and scrolled and scrolled.
And then I got all riled up again.
The world's ending.
The world's ending. May as well just go to sleep.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Those stress hormones floating around in your body. So get the sleep that you can when you can. And it is so underrated. Turn off the TV earlier. You're going to get that energy. You're going to feel renewed again. So sleep is underrated. So my tip is get it when you can. So that's tip number 3. Number 4, I would say, is to remember that you are in control of your emotions. And again, this kind of goes along with the awareness. It sucks that you're in control of them, but it also is awesome that you're in control of them. So it sucks because it's like, oh, I want to be angry. And of course I'm going to be angry because he's stupid.
Yeah.
Or that guy cut me off in traffic, or the harvest isn't going well, or that combine header stopped working, or whatever. Of course I have every right to be angry, but it's not helping. That anger is not helping. The worry is not helping. So you have a responsibility for your emotions. So you are responsible for your energy, and to regulate that energy, take responsibility for your emotions. So that leads into
something.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
That's okay.
I was just going to say, I heard one time, and I think it's true from my own personal experience with Tracy, I think we get addicted to our responses to our emotions, don't we? Like a lot of people, like anger or judgment or whatever the case may be, we get something from the way we react with our emotions. Is there something to that?
Yes, I would agree.
Adrenaline or whatever it is, it feeds us something.
I would agree.
That once.
There are some people that feel that when they get angry, they get power. So that's their what's the word that you just
coping
used?
Mechanism,
and that's their
benefit.
The benefit of getting angry is they felt powerful. So of course they're going to keep getting angry, because so now they're relying on their anger to feel powerful. But really what's happening is that power is not really true, because they're draining their energy. So it's only a short term, because you can only keep getting angry so much, and you're going to find that you're getting exhausted, that you can't keep doing this. You can't keep getting angry because you're draining your energy. It took energy to get angry. So it may feel powerful for a short bit, but yeah, the payoff, there's the word that you used.
There we go.
There we go.
Well, and to me, that would obviously drain those batteries, giving you less resilience, right? If you're angry all the time, and then it comes to something big or important or thinking clear, you're depleted from feeling angry, right?
Yeah. And
worrying.
Yes. And if you continue that worry or that anger in the moment, you honestly can't think clearly. So you don't have the energy, but literally your wiring of your brain goes offline. Like it's not synchronized. So in the moment you can't think clearly. And then later you don't have the energy to think clearly because you've blown it emotionally.
Vicious circle.
Remember, you only have one inner battery for physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And it's got to be used in that. And if you keep blowing it emotionally, you don't have as much energy to think clearly. You don't have as much energy to heal yourself.
Clever.
Yeah.
You're so smart.
Only one inner battery.
One inner battery. Okay, perfect.
So yes, you are in control of your emotion and your responses. So when I say responses, I'm not talking just external responses. You're in control of that too, but your internal responses. Okay. So really the key to resilience then is to decrease the amount of time and the length of time that you are experiencing negative emotions, and increase the amount of time and the duration, like the number of times that you're experiencing renewing emotions. So decrease negative, increase positive. And that's how you're going to keep your inner battery charged. That's how you're going to increase resilience. So stop the drains, so all of the negative emotions, and increase the gain. So more renewing emotions and more sleep.
More sleep.
More sleep.
Don't forget sleep.
At least get your sleep in, because that's the primary way to renew your energy. Yes.
Such
sleep.
Common sense, and we forget it, right?
We forget it. I know.
Me too. It's like, I want to feel better, but I never get enough sleep, right? It's so funny. I'm not the only one. I know that.
And then and here's the funny thing. If we don't have enough energy in our inner battery, if we don't have enough resilience, the lower our resilience, the less able we are to regulate our emotions. So the more likely things are going to get under your skin. And then when they do get under your skin, now you're draining even more energy. And then you have less energy to regulate your emotions. Now things are going to get under your skin more. So it's just this vicious downward spiral. So to get out of that, again, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Check in with yourself. What am I experiencing right now? Take responsibility. Increase more, like stop the drains, decrease the negative, increase the positive.
I love it. That's great. I was going to ask you for final words of wisdom, but those were pretty darn good.
I guess my final words of wisdom, it takes practice.
Okay.
So don't beat yourself up. If in this moment you're like, well, I'm just so angry, I just can't change it. Don't beat yourself up, because that's just more draining, So it takes practice. It takes practice. It takes practice. Increase your awareness and just practice. Play the game. Life's not a test. Life is a game. So just play the game. How resilient can you get?
Yeah.
Be curious. How resilient can I get? How much can I handle today? Before I break, before I have an emotional explosion. If that is, if anger is your thing, if anger is your go-to emotion, maybe worry is. Yeah. Can you go a day without a panic attack? That's success. Nice. If you had 5 panic attacks a day and now you can go a morning without having one, that's success.
True. I love it. And it's such a quick little shift of perception, right? Instead of life's a test or a struggle or a series of challenges, if you flip it and go, life's a game, on my inside, I just feel myself, oh, it's a game. And I mean, I love life. And to me, I'm competitive. So that wording resonates.
Yes.
But when you say it that way, you could easily go, oh, another challenge. Oh, this is a game.
Up level. You get to the next level. The next challenge, you got the next level.
Yeah, totally. I love it. Okay. Amazing words of wisdom. What a fantastic interview. I really enjoyed you coming on the show. I open and honest at the beginning said that Louise is my coach, and I do work with her. So I'm so happy to have her on the show. To me, you guys hear me all the time. I'm a business owner ×2. And I'll quote a Tony Robbins. Business is 80% psychology, 20% strategy. And to me, I think I got that right. Strategy 20. Yes.
Yeah.
And to me, a long time ago, I realized that I need to be clear, smart, positive. I need to be on top of my mindset in order to do well in my media company and on the farm, right? So to me, reading podcasts, all that good stuff is a great way to improve, handle stress. Hiring you has been a game changer for me too. So I'm going to naturally give you a plug here because I know you do great work. If farmers are out there, somebody in the farm family, they want to work with you, how do they find out more and what type of work do you do with people?
Yes. So I do kind of two things. I do group training. So if there's a group of people that want to get together and learn the skills together, I can do like a group training, but I also do one-on-one coaching. So my sister also does one-on-one coaching, and she also does working with horses. So that is another added bonus. But that's part of the Stress Experts. But we do one-on-one coaching, usually virtually, but we also do in person. And the trainings in a group. So
if they want to find out more information.
Thank you. I'm like, there was something else to this question. If you want more information, you can find us at thestressexperts.com, and we have the different services listed there, the trainings, the coaching, and we also have an online program called the 42-Day Choice Challenge. So it's an email-based program that, again, helps you day by day work through challenges.
Fantastic. Louise, thank you for taking the time to come on the show, share your wisdom. You are amazing at what you do. She truly is. So thank you. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with the audience. Thank you.
I've had a blast. So thank you for asking me to come back.
My pleasure. And you in the audience, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this as much as I did, please like it and really share it, guys. There's so much going on in the world right now. Farming, pandemic, as we discussed. Everybody needs the material, tools, resources, shows like this where Louise shares great information to help us be our best and manage in these crazy times. So if you guys can share it, I would really appreciate it. At that, we are wrapping up, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
You've been listening to Impact Farming. For more great episodes and articles designed to help you manage and grow your farming operation, head on over to farmmarketer.com. Don't forget to sign up while you're there. We will see you on the next episode.